The morning sun shone bright over the kingdom of Westmore. It was a special day. The royal family was going to visit the National Children's Hospital. Princess Elena, the loving mother of 2 young children, sat in the back seat of the royal car. Her son, Prince Lucas, was only 4 years old. He wore a small blue suit and held his mother's hand tightly. Princess Elena was known throughout the kingdom for her kindness and warmth. She spent most of her time with her children, away from the formal royal duties. She loved Lucas more than anything in the world. He was her youngest child, and she protected him like a fierce mother lion. In the car with her was her mother-in-law, Queen Victoria. Queen Victoria was an older woman with a serious face. She had ruled the kingdom for many years, but her love for family was sometimes hard to see. She was formal, strict, and often cold. The Queen believed that royal children should learn to follow rules and orders without question. But Princess Elena believed differently. She believed children needed love, warmth, and protection above all else. The motorcade moved slowly through the streets of the capital city. Police motorcycles rode in front. Soldiers on horses rode beside the cars. Inside the royal vehicle, everything was quiet and tense. Lucas should sit properly, Queen Victoria said sharply, looking at the small boy. He is a prince. He must learn to act like one. Lucas was shifting in his seat, looking out the window with wonder. He was excited to see the children at the hospital. He wanted to give them the toy he had brought. He is just a child, Your Majesty, Princess Elena said gently. Let him enjoy the ride. He is happy. Queen Victoria's face turned cold. You are too soft with him, Elena. This is why modern children have no discipline. They are weak. Princess Elena said nothing. She had heard these words many times before. She simply held Lucas closer and kissed the top of his head. The motorcade arrived at the hospital gates. Thousands of people stood behind barriers, waiting to see the royal family. They waved flags and held signs. Children stood on their parents' shoulders, trying to get a better view. Everyone wanted to see Prince Lucas. He was the most loved child in the kingdom. The car stopped. The doors opened. Princess Elena stepped out first, holding Lucas's small hand. He looked around with wide eyes at all the people. He waved shyly. The crowd went wild with happiness. They screamed and cheered. Queen Victoria stepped out next, wearing her formal crown and her finest dress. She walked with a straight back and a serious face. The crowd clapped for her, but their energy was different. There was respect, but not warmth. As they walked toward the hospital entrance, something unexpected happened. Queen Victoria suddenly reached down and grabbed Lucas by the arm. She pulled him away from his mother's side. Come, boy, she said in a hard voice. You will walk with me. You must show these people that you are strong. Stop holding your mother's hand like a baby. Princess Elena's heart jumped. She quickly reached out and gently took Lucas back, pulling him close to her chest. The little boy began to cry. He buried his face in his mother's shoulder. Your Majesty, please, Princess Elena said, her voice shaking. He is frightened. He needs me. But Queen Victoria was not listening. She was looking at the crowd. She wanted them to see the royal strength. She wanted them to see a prince who did not need his mother. In her mind, this was what royalty meant. Queen Victoria reached out again. This time, she grabbed Lucas more firmly. She was trying to pull him out of his mother's arms. Let go, she commanded. This is nonsense. The boy must learn to be tough. Princess Elena held Lucas even tighter. The little boy was now crying loudly. His small body shook with fear and confusion. He did not understand why his grandmother was being so rough. He did not understand why she was hurting him. No, Princess Elena said firmly. You will not take him. The 2 women stood there, pulling on the child between them. It was a terrible moment. The crowd had gone completely silent. Everyone was watching. Everyone could see the struggle. This was when Captain Marcus, the head of the royal guard, saw what was happening. Captain Marcus was a tall, strong man with kind eyes. He had protected the royal family for 20 years. He was trained to see danger and to act quickly. But he was also a father. He had a little daughter at home, just like Prince Lucas. When Captain Marcus saw the Queen pulling the frightened child, something inside him woke up. This was not a security threat. This was something worse. A child was being hurt. Without thinking about the rules or the consequences, Captain Marcus stepped forward. "Your Majesty," he said in a respectful but firm voice. He moved between the Queen and Princess Elena. "With respect, I cannot allow this." "The prince is in distress." Queen Victoria turned to look at him, her face full of anger. "You dare interfere? I am the Queen. Step aside."
The moment stretched like an eternity. Queen Victoria stood motionless, her face still red with anger. Captain Marcus kept his hand gently on her shoulder. Princess Elena held Lucas, so close that she could barely breathe. The little boy had stopped crying, but his small body still trembled. Then, without a word, Queen Victoria turned and walked away. She walked toward the hospital entrance with her head held high. Her heels clicked sharply against the concrete. The crowd watched her go. No one moved. No one spoke. It was as if the entire kingdom had forgotten how to breathe. Captain Marcus stepped back and looked at Princess Elena. His kind eyes showed worry and care. "Your Highness, are you all right?" he asked quietly. Princess Elena nodded, but tears were still flowing down her face. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for everything." Lucas looked up at Captain Marcus. The little boy's eyes were red from crying. "Why did Grandma pull so hard?" he asked in his innocent voice. Princess Elena kneeled down and held her son close. "Because sometimes people do not understand how much we love each other," she said softly. "But it is okay now. You are safe." Captain Marcus wanted to say more, but he knew he could not. He had already done something that would create big problems. He had challenged the Queen, in front of thousands of people, in front of all the cameras, in front of the entire world. Inside the hospital, the visit continued, but everything felt different now. Princess Elena walked through the children's ward with Lucas. The sick children smiled to see him. Lucas gave each child a toy he had brought. He held their hands gently. He was kind and warm, just like his mother. But Queen Victoria sat in a private waiting room, alone. Her face was cold and hard. She was not speaking to anyone. She was not smiling. She was thinking about what had happened outside. No one had ever challenged her like this before. No one had ever stood in her way. And the guard, a common guard, had done it in front of the whole world. This was not something she could forgive or forget. When the hospital visit ended, the royal motorcade drove back to the palace. Princess Elena sat in one car with Lucas. Queen Victoria sat in another car, completely alone. She did not want to be near anyone. At the palace, everything changed very quickly. By evening, royal advisors were calling emergency meetings. The Prime Minister came to the palace. The Chief of Security came to the palace. Everyone was talking about Captain Marcus. Everyone was asking the same question. What should be done about the guard who challenged the Queen? In his small office near the palace gates, Captain Marcus sat at his desk. He knew trouble was coming. He had seen the cameras. He had heard the silence of the crowd. He understood what he had done. His assistant knocked on the door. "Sir, the Chief of Security wants to see you immediately." Captain Marcus stood up slowly. He was not afraid. He had done the right thing. But he also knew that doing the right thing sometimes came with a very big price. In the Queen's private chamber, Queen Victoria sat with her closest advisors. "The guard must be removed," she said coldly. "He embarrassed me. He embarrassed the crown. This cannot be tolerated." One advisor, an older man named Sir James, spoke carefully. "Your Majesty, if we punish him, the people will not understand. They loved what he did. The media is already calling him a hero. The social media is full of people praising his courage. I do not care what the people think." Queen Victoria shouted, "He must be punished. He must learn that no one challenges a queen." But Sir James continued. He was brave. "Your Majesty, if we fire him, it will look like you are angry about what happened. The world will think you are cruel. They will think you were wrong to pull Prince Lucas. The story will get worse, not better." Queen Victoria's face turned even redder. She glared at Sir James, but she did not speak. She was thinking. She was always a smart woman. Even when she was angry, she knew that her advisor was right. Meanwhile, in another part of the palace, Princess Elena was putting Lucas to bed. She sang to him softly. She told him stories. She made sure he felt safe and loved. The little boy fell asleep with his hand, holding his mother's hand. Princess Elena sat on the edge of the bed for a long time, watching her son sleep. She was thinking about Captain Marcus. She was thinking about his kindness. She was thinking about how he had risked everything for her son. She knew there would be consequences. She knew the Queen would be looking for ways to punish the guard, and she knew that she could not let that happen. The next morning, Princess Elena did something brave. She asked to speak to the Prime Minister alone, in a private room, with no one listening. She spoke to him about what had happened. "Captain Marcus did nothing wrong," she said. "He protected my child. He protected this family. If the palace punishes him, everyone in the kingdom will see it as cruelty. They will see it as the palace punishing a man for saving a child. Is that what we want the world to believe?" The Prime Minister listened carefully. He was a wise man who understood politics and power. "What would you like me to do, Your Highness?" he asked. "I want you to protect him," Princess Elena said. "I want you to make sure he keeps his job. And I want you to speak to the Queen on my behalf. Tell her that if Captain Marcus is harmed, I will tell the whole world the truth about what happened. I will tell them everything." The Prime Minister nodded. He understood. The Queen was powerful, but Princess Elena was also powerful in her own way. She had the love of the people. She had the truth on her side. By afternoon, word spread through the palace. The Queen had decided to keep Captain Marcus. The guard would not be punished. He would keep his job and his honor. When Captain Marcus heard the news, he felt tears come to his eyes. He had been ready to lose everything. But someone had helped him. Someone had stood up for him, just like he had stood up for Prince Lucas. That evening, Princess Elena walked past the guard station. Captain Marcus was standing at attention. When he saw the princess, he bowed respectfully. "Thank you," Princess Elena said quietly. "You did the right thing, and I will never forget it." Captain Marcus looked at her with gratitude in his eyes. "Your Highness, I only did my duty. My duty is to protect this family. Always." Princess Elena smiled. "You did more than that. You showed this kingdom what courage really looks like." 3 days had passed since the hospital incident. The entire kingdom was still talking about it. News channels showed the video over and over again. People on the streets discussed what they had seen. Children drew pictures of the brave guard protecting the little prince. Captain Marcus had become a symbol of something the kingdom had been waiting for, someone who spoke the truth. But inside the palace, things were very tense. Queen Victoria had not left her private chambers in 2 days. She refused to see anyone except her closest advisors. She would not eat with the family. She would not attend any events. She was alone with her anger and her shame. For the first time in 50 years, the Queen felt powerless. She felt humiliated. And most importantly, she felt that the world had turned against her. Princess Elena, on the other hand, spent most of her time with Lucas. She wanted to make sure he was healing from the scary experience. She took him to the palace gardens. She read him stories. She showed him that the world was still full of kindness and beauty. One morning, Sir James, the wise advisor who had spoken to Queen, asked for a private meeting with Princess Elena. They sat in a small room near the palace library. "Your Highness, I need to tell you something," Sir James said carefully. "Something that might help you understand Queen Victoria better." Princess Elena listened quietly. She was always willing to listen and to try to understand others. "The Queen did not always act the way she does," Sir James began. "When she was a young princess, she was very different. She was warm and loving. But then her own mother, the old Queen, was very harsh to her. She was forced to learn that showing emotions was weakness. She was trained to believe that royal children should not be held or comforted. She was told that love made people weak. Sir James paused. He was remembering old stories. When Queen Victoria became queen, she decided that this was the only way. She believed that being strong meant being cold. She believed that protecting her children meant keeping them away from comfort. Her own son, Prince William, he grew up the same way, and he suffered greatly. But the queen believed she was doing the right thing. Princess Elena felt sad listening to this. She began to understand that Queen Victoria's harshness came from pain. The queen had been hurt as a child, and she did not know any other way to be. Does the queen know that I understand this? Princess Elena asked. No, Sir James said. The queen does not know how to speak about such things, but I think she needs to hear it. I think she needs to know that her way is not the only way, and that there is hope for change. That afternoon, Princess Elena made a brave decision. She walked to the queen's private chambers and asked to speak to her. The guard were surprised. No one had been allowed near the queen for days, but they let Princess Elena pass. The queen was sitting by a window, looking out at the kingdom. She did not turn around when Elena entered. Your Majesty, Princess Elena said respectfully, may I sit with you? Queen Victoria did not answer, but she did not say no. Princess Elena sat down beside her. For a long time, neither of them spoke. They just sat together, looking out the window. Finally, Princess Elena spoke softly. I know you love Lucas. I know you were trying to teach him to be strong. But I want you to understand something. Strength does not come from having no feelings. Strength comes from having feelings and facing them anyway. Strength comes from love, not from coldness. Queen Victoria's shoulders became tight. She was listening, but she did not respond. I also want you to know, Princess Elena continued, that I understand you were hurt when you were young. Sir James told me about your mother, about how she treated you. I am sorry. No child should be treated that way. At these words, Queen Victoria finally turned to look at Princess Elena. There were tears in the old queen's eyes. For the first time in decades, the powerful queen was showing her true feelings. I thought that was love, Queen Victoria said quietly. Her voice was different now. It was not cold anymore. It was broken. I thought that was how you protect children. My mother did the same to me, and I did the same to my son, and I thought I had to do the same to Lucas. But it is not, Princess Elena said gently. Love is holding someone close. Love is protecting them, but also letting them feel safe. Love is warmth. Your way was not love. It was fear. Queen Victoria looked down at her hands. Old hands that had held power for so long, but they had never truly held anyone they loved. I do not know how to change, the queen said. I have been this way for so long. The whole kingdom sees me as strong and powerful. If I change, will they think I am weak? No, Princess Elena said. They will think you are brave. Changing is the hardest thing a person can do. It takes more courage than anything else. The queen was quiet for a very long time. Then she looked at Princess Elena with tears running down her face. I want to see Lucas, she said. I want to apologize to him, but I do not know what to say. You can just hold him, Princess Elena said, and tell him you are sorry. Tell him you love him. Children understand more than we think. Later that day, Queen Victoria came to the palace gardens where Lucas was playing. She walked slowly. Her face was soft. She looked different somehow, less like a queen and more like a grandmother. Lucas saw her and ran to hide behind his mother. He was still afraid. Hello, Lucas, Queen Victoria said softly. She sat down on a bench, making herself smaller, so she would not look so scary to the little boy. I am sorry. I hurt you. That was wrong. I love you very much. Can you forgive me? Lucas peeked out from behind his mother. He was confused. His grandmother had never spoken to him like this before. Slowly, carefully, Lucas walked toward the queen. He looked at her sad face. He saw her tears. And because Lucas was a kind little boy, he did something that surprised everyone. He walked to the queen and hugged her. Queen Victoria held her grandson gently. She held him like she had never held anyone before. She felt his small body in her arms. And she understood, finally, what love really meant. Princess Elena watched them. She did not say anything. She just watched as the queen, the powerful, cold queen, learned to love again to the love of a 4-year-old boy. That evening, the palace was different. There was a feeling of peace. There was a feeling of hope. The queen had taken the first step. She was beginning to change. But change is never simple. And there were still more lessons to come. 1 week had passed since the queen held Lucas in the garden. 1 week of small changes. 1 week of hope. The palace felt different now. The servants noticed it first. The queen began smiling. She started asking people about their families. She remembered the names of the staff members who had worked there for years. She was becoming human again. Every morning, Queen Victoria would sit with Lucas in the breakfast room. She would tell him stories about when she was young. She would ask him about his dreams and his feelings. She would hold his hand, and Lucas, being a forgiving child, accepted his grandmother's love. But change in a royal family does not happen quietly, and not everyone was happy about it. Prince William, the Queen's son and Lucas's father, was confused by his mother's transformation. He was a serious man, just like his mother used to be. He had been raised the old way, with coldness and discipline. He did not know what to think of his mother's new behavior. "Mother's becoming soft," he said one day to his wife, Princess Elena. There was worry in his voice. The kingdom needs a strong queen, not a grandmother who cries and holds grandchildren. Princess Elena understood her husband's concern, but she also knew something he did not know yet. "Strength is not about being cold," she said gently. "Your mother is learning that, and soon you will learn it too." Prince William said nothing, but he was thinking. Meanwhile, Captain Marcus continued his duties as before. He had become famous. People recognized him on the streets. They called him a hero. They thanked him for protecting Prince Lucas. Children wanted to be guards like him. Girls wanted to marry him. But Captain Marcus did not feel like a hero. He felt like he had simply done his job. He had protected a child. That was all. One morning, Queen Victoria asked to speak to Captain Marcus privately. The guard was nervous. He did not know what the Queen wanted. He walked into her private chamber with respect and fear in his heart. "Captain Marcus," the Queen said, "please sit down." Captain Marcus sat. This was unusual. The Queen had never asked a guard to sit before. "I want to thank you," the Queen said, "not just for protecting Lucas that day, but for showing me something I needed to see. You showed me that there are different ways to be strong. You showed me that protecting others means caring for them, not just controlling them." Captain Marcus was surprised. He did not expect these words from the Queen. "Your Majesty, he began. "I know," the Queen interrupted gently. "You only did your duty, but your duty changed this family, and I believe it will change this kingdom." The Queen stood up and walked to a window. She looked out at the kingdom she had ruled for so many years. "I have ruled this kingdom for 50 years, she said. "But I realize now that I was not always a good ruler. I was too harsh. I was too cold. I did not understand that people need love and respect, not just rules and power." She turned back to Captain Marcus. "I am going to make some changes to this palace and this kingdom, and I want you to help me. I want you to be more than just a guard. I want you to be an advisor. I want your voice to be heard. Will you help me?" Captain Marcus felt tears come to his eyes. "Your Majesty, I would be honored." Over the next few weeks, things began to change in the kingdom. Queen Victoria announced new policies. Children in the schools would learn about emotions and feelings, not just discipline. Families would be encouraged to show love and affection. Guards would be trained to protect people, but also to treat people with kindness. The nobles were shocked. Some were angry. They said the Queen was becoming weak. They said the kingdom would fall apart without strict discipline. But the people loved it. The common people, farmers, workers, shopkeepers, they saw their Queen finally understanding their lives. They saw her becoming human. Prince William watched all of this with growing understanding. He began to see that his mother's changes were not weakness. They were strength, real strength, the strength to admit you were wrong, the strength to change, the strength to love. One day, he went to his mother and hugged her. It was the first time he had hugged her since he was a small child. The Queen cried, Prince William cried, and Lucas, watching from the doorway, also cried, but tears of joy. But then, something unexpected happened. An old advisor named Lord Hartwell, who had served the Queen for many years, became very angry about the changes. He believed the Queen was destroying the kingdom. He believed the old ways were right. He began to plot against the Queen. Lord Hartwell went to the media. He told them that the Queen was losing her mind. He said she was being controlled by Princess Elena and Captain Marcus. He tried to convince people that the Queen should step down and let Prince William rule instead. The kingdom became divided. Some people supported the Queen's new way. Some people supported the old ways. Arguments broke out. The unity that had started to form began to crack. Queen Victoria was heartbroken. She had tried so hard to change. She had opened her heart. And now, it seemed like it was all falling apart. One evening, she sat alone in her chamber, feeling defeated. There was a knock on the door. It was Prince William. "Mother," he said, "I want to tell the kingdom something. I want to tell them that your changes are right. I want to tell them that what you learned from Lucas is true. I want to stand with you. But your future as king," the Queen began, "will be better because of what you are teaching me." Prince William said, "You are teaching me how to be a real leader, not a leader who rules with fear, but a leader who rules with wisdom and love." The next day, Prince William made a speech. He stood beside his mother. He told the kingdom about what had happened. He told them how his mother had changed. He told them why her changes were good. He told them that he believed in the new way. And the kingdom listened. Lord Hartwell's plans failed. The nobles who supported the old ways found themselves alone. The people had chosen. They wanted a kingdom filled with love and kindness, not just rules and fear. But the most beautiful moment came later that day. Captain Marcus was standing guard when Lucas ran up to him. The little boy threw his arms around the guard. "Thank you for being brave," Lucas said. "Thank you for helping Grandma learn to love." Captain Marcus held the little boy gently. He looked over Lucas's head and saw Queen Victoria watching them. The old queen was smiling. She was crying, but they were happy tears. In that moment, everyone understood something important. They understood that real strength is not about power or control. Real strength is about courage. Real strength is about love. Real strength is about being willing to change. The kingdom had learned a lesson, and it would never be the same again. 1 year had passed. The kingdom of Westmore was not the same anymore. It was better in ways that people could see and feel. In the streets, you could see families holding hands. Children laughed without fear. Guards smiled at people instead of looking angry and cold. The palace gates were open more often, and common people could visit and see their royal family. Queen Victoria sat in the palace gardens with Lucas. The little boy was 5 years old now. He was bigger, stronger, more curious about the world. But he was still tender-hearted. He still loved his grandmother deeply. "Grandma, tell me the story again," Lucas said, climbing into her lap. "Tell me the story about the guard who saved me." Queen Victoria smiled. She had told this story many times this year, but she never got tired of telling it. "Once upon a time," the Queen began, "there was a little prince who was scared, and there was a brave guard who protected him. And because that guard was brave, he helped not just the prince, but also his grandmother to learn something very important." "What did she learn?" Lucas asked, even though he already knew the answer. "She learned that love is more powerful than anything else in the world," Queen Victoria said. "More powerful than crowns, more powerful than fear, more powerful than rules. She learned that holding someone close and telling them you love them is the strongest thing a ruler can do." Lucas kissed his grandmother on her cheek. "I love you, Grandma." Queen Victoria held her grandson close. A year ago, she would have never allowed herself to feel this joy. A year ago, she would push the child away. But not anymore. Now she knew better. Across the kingdom, in a hospital in the capital city, Captain Marcus was visiting sick children. This had become part of his job now. Queen Victoria believed that guards should not just protect people, they should also care for them. They should visit hospitals. They should help poor families. They should show that the palace cared about everyone. The children loved Captain Marcus. He was strong and kind. He told them stories about protecting the royal family. He made them laugh. Some of the children gave him drawings they had made. He kept every single one. One small girl, who was very sick, took his hand. "Are you really a hero?" she asked. Captain Marcus knelt down beside her bed. "I am not a hero. I just did what was right. And that is something anyone can do. You can be a hero too, by being kind, by helping others, by telling the truth." The girl smiled. She closed her eyes and held Captain Marcus's hand as she fell asleep. This was his real job now, not just protecting people with his body, but protecting people's hearts and spirits. This was what Queen Victoria had taught him. At the university in the kingdom, Prince William was teaching a special class. The topic was leadership with love. He taught young people, future leaders and government officials, about what he had learned from his mother's transformation. "A real leader does not rule through fear," he told his students. "A real leader listens to people. A real leader admits when they are wrong. A real leader cares about the people they lead. And a real leader is brave enough to change." The students listened carefully. Many of them took notes. They knew they were learning something that would shape their futures. They were learning a new way to lead. One student raised her hand. "Prince William, how do you know when you are wrong?" Prince William smiled. "You listen to people who love you. You listen to your heart. And sometimes you see the hurt in a child's eyes and you know you must change, no matter how hard it is." He was thinking about Lucas, about that moment in the hospital when he saw his son crying because of his mother's coldness. Back at the palace, Princess Elena was doing something important. She was writing a book. The book told the story of what had happened. Not all the details, but the important truths. She wrote about how a family can change. She wrote about how love can heal even the deepest wounds. She wrote about how one brave person can inspire a whole kingdom. "Why are you writing this?" Prince William asked one evening. "Because the world needs to know," Princess Elena said, "that change is possible. That people who seem cold can learn to love. That families can be healed. And that sometimes it takes a simple act of protection to start everything." The book would be published next year, and people from all over the world would read it, and they would learn from the Kingdom of Westmore. They would learn that change is possible. One day, there was a special ceremony at the palace. Queen Victoria announced that she was creating a new award, the Captain Marcus Award for Courage and Compassion. This award will be given to people who did brave things to protect others and to show love. Captain Marcus stood before the entire kingdom, on television, in newspapers, on social media, as Queen Victoria gave him the first award. She placed a medal around his neck. She shook his hand, and then she hugged him. The Queen hugged a guard in front of all the world. This single moment meant more than any words could say. It showed that the Queen had truly changed. It showed that the old days of coldness were gone forever. Tears ran down Captain Marcus's face. He thought about his own children at home. He thought about the future. He thought about how one moment of courage had changed everything. That evening, there was a celebration in the palace. Music played. People danced. There was laughter and joy. Queen Victoria danced with her great-grandchildren. Prince William danced with his wife. Captain Marcus danced with his family, who had been invited to the palace. This was a new kingdom, a kingdom where love was not seen as weakness, but as strength, a kingdom where leaders could admit their mistakes, a kingdom where families could heal. But the most beautiful moment came at the end of the day. When the celebration was over, Queen Victoria sat alone in the palace garden, the same place where her transformation had begun. She thought about everything that had happened. She thought about the scared woman she used to be. She thought about the person she had become. Prince William found her there. He sat beside his mother. "I want to tell you something," Prince William said. "I want to thank you." "For what?" his mother asked. "For changing," he said. "You showed me that it is never too late to become better. You showed me that real strength is in your heart, not in your power. You taught me how to be a real father, how to love my children like they deserve to be loved." Queen Victoria took her son's hand. "And you gave me the greatest gift. You stood beside me when everything was uncertain. You showed the kingdom that change was possible. You believed in me when I did not believe in myself." They sat together in the garden, mother and son, finally understanding each other, finally connected by love instead of fear. Far away in the children's hospital, the little girl who had held Captain Marcus's hand woke up one morning feeling better. The doctors said she was going to be all right. She would live. And her first thought was of the brave guard who had held her hand and told her she could be a hero too. In that moment, all across the kingdom of Westmore, people were learning the same lesson. They were learning that love is the strongest force in the world. They were learning that one person can change everything. They were learning that it is never too late to become better. And they all had the story of a little prince, a brave guard, and a grandmother's heart to thank for it.